Welcome back to Mystara, everybody. Today we're going to visit the magical land of missed opportunities. When it was becoming obvious TSR didn't have any plans for Mystara and the setting was about to join Greyhawk in the dustbin of fantasy settings, we're going to look at the moment when TSR ran out of ideas, material, and playtest time for Mystara. I'm Mr. Welch, and today we're looking at some of the last products made for Mystara, the DM and Player Survival Kit. The kits were released in 1995, the last year of official Mystara products. They were two of the last products released in print form, with only Joshua's Almanac and the Savage Baronies coming out that year. Despite Mystara having over a dozen locations, even after Wrath of the Immortals removed Alphasia from the surface world, only two nations ever got any second edition love, Karamikos and Glantry. The rest were barely mentioned in passing in any books except for the now discontinued almanacs at that point. The kits reflected this, as almost all the handouts were made for characters from either Karamikos or Glantry. That's it. That's what most of these accessories were, just handouts for the PCs. There were some useful charts with stats for every weapon, family creation card, charts, and lists of every single spell in second edition, broken down by school. That was the useful parts, and it's not much. Okay, there's no sugarcoating these products. They don't add much to the Mystara experience. If you're a cleric from Karamikos, there's a handout where the church names you as an adventurer. If you're a cleric from anywhere else, sorry, got nothing for you. There's so much wasted opportunities in these expansions, it's heartbreaking. There's a lot of blank pages for you to fill out, but nothing you couldn't already come up with on a notebook. The art is extremely subpar. Compared to the Caldwell and Elmore art we were used to, it's almost childish. What makes it worse is the interior artists were Eric Hotz, Dan Frazier, and Carl Waller, all extremely accomplished artists in their own right. I don't know if the art was being rushed, they didn't care, or TSR was too cheap to pay for good art. But there's a serious downgrade in the art style for some of these pages. There's a lot of wasted space in these accessories, and that's not counting the vast amounts of blank paper. You've got art examples of character classes as they progress from novice to epic level. Neat to look at, but what's the point? What's even worse, it's only for two classes, a wizard and a thief. There's no image at all for a fighter or a cleric. These were supposed to be handouts to players to help them keep track of their characters and provide shortcuts to rules in the books. Instead of showing us pictures of other characters, they could have given us charts for Thaco, for example, which is something I never understood why that chart wasn't tied to the character information at the beginning of the player handbook. You've got 10 pages of suggested names from all of the various nations, which feels like obvious padding. When you're listing page after page from names of various nations, there's always going to feel like padding. It doesn't matter if it's in the player survival kit or the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Nobody's going to stop and read all that. You could have just have easily given a link to a list of baby books with a bunch of names. Drop the names and reduce the price, or even better, come up with 10 pages of stuff that's actually useful. There's a few things in the accessories. I wouldn't call them books because the actual book parts are just fill in the blank lists of different NPCs or notepads. Somebody's just not a blank sheet paper with some crappy art on the edges. The hand-drawn maps for Glantry, Karamikos, Darrakin, and the known world are actually rather nice, especially since they aren't hex grids like the old maps. Those would have been great if they'd given us hand-drawn maps for each of the nations rather than just 3. The player's kit has 5 pages of spells, 2 pages of weapons, 3 pages of family generator, and 4 maps. That's 14 pages out of about 50 useful pages. Then you've got 9 handouts, which are effectively graduation announcements for the various factions for your class in Glantry or Karamikos. Those are useful in very specific conditions. There is a will. That was a nice touch. There's 2 pages for keeping track of allies, 13 blank pages for notes, 10 pages of names, and 3 pages on heraldry that seem to be lifted from some other book. So 14 pages will be useful compared to 33 that are either highly situational or just absolutely useless. The DM's kit is a little bit better, but you're going to need to hit the photocopier to get multiple copies of the map paper they provide you. There's a lot of missed opportunities here, like discussing the human languages, then hand-waving the fact that there's over 20 human dialects, but we're only going to talk about common. You get some attention given to the Dwarven and Elvish languages, but nothing about the language of the hen. There's even a page on mage script, the mage handwriting, but that's all fluff. There's a campaign log that is literally 15 blank pages, aside from the subpar art I talked about. There's about a half dozen pages of blank scrolls and map paper, which you're going to have to photocopy for more because that's not obviously enough to use. There's some alphabet sheets for making your own Elven, Dwarven, and magical alphabets if you like. On the plus side, there's a character sheet designed for each class and some monster and adventure tracking sheets. All of these were well designed, even the calendar sheet so you can plan encounters on specific days in the game using the official game calendar. There's sample maps of tower, dungeons, town, and an inn, which are all extremely useful in the game. Even counting for all the trips to the library to copy stuff back then, these were actually pretty useful. The ratio of things you can use and the useless pages are a little bit better than the player's kit, but you've still got a lot of dead paper. Now we get to the fancy part, the stuff that the people remember most. That's the deck of cards. Each one had a deck of cards. The DM's kit actually had 2. The player's kit gave you a deck listing unusual events that could happen to you. These were mostly random events that could happen to get an adventure started, but some of them were extremely strange and could cause problems by altering characters without any recourse. Some of them are just interesting plot points like finding your true love, mistaken identity, or long-lost relatives. Others force the characters to change their personality, sex, or even become incorporeal. Others are mechanically quite beneficial, like there's a boost to a stat for a week, random bonuses to hit, or you gain a sidekick that's actually competent. These are interesting enough, though permanent changes to the party can lead to some bad feelings if it's not wanted. The DM's deck are split between a list of magic items, which many are interesting, and nothing's overpowered, and the Mystara version of the deck of many things. The magic item deck is nice. There's nothing earth-shattering, and this could have easily just been an entry into a book. The deck of spheres, on the other hand, is a complete mess. The deck of many things has equal amounts of good and bad. Maybe you'll die, maybe you'll gain a level. Who knows? Equal chance. The deck of spheres is almost all bad. For every good effect, there's a drawback. For every bad effect, there's nothing good to balance it. You gain a permanent +4 to hit with bows, for example. At the expense, your armor class gets docked by 4 points when you get shot at by an arrow. You can get hit with a random imprisonment spell if you just pull the wrong card. You could have all your stats reduced to 19 for a day, at the end of which the day you explode and die. There's no way to stop that. There's literally no reason why anybody would want to draw from this deck. There's just over 20 cards in the deck, and 2 of which give you a bonus with no penalty or chance for a curse. On the other hand, you can have your stats reduced to 6 permanently with 1 card. You can become imprisoned, like I said. You can become poisoned, and if you survive that, you take a permanent penalty to poison. You can go all Sleeping Beauty on the party to be effectively out of the game. You can turn into a specter or a werewolf. They can change your alignment, or you can shape change into an elf with no save and no way to restore yourself. This is the least fun random magic item ever made. Only a DM that hates his party would give them this. If you gotta have them, they're $30 each intact on various online sites. TSR made a lot of these. The company was just churning out crap at this point, and it was just 2 years before its total collapse. There's still a lot of these still on the market, still in shrink, and the demand isn't high. They do have PDFs for the kits, but from what I can see, it doesn't include the deck, so that's up to you. The PDFs kept the vellum look, which is murder on a printer because it's going to try to print the white paper vellum. So if you want the vellum look, go to a specialty paper store, grab some colored paper, then print the PDF on a black and white setting, and you'll save a ton of ink otherwise. So enough talking about the survival kits. They have all the markings of a cash grab, selling blank pages with D&D stamped on them during the time TSR was being managed into the ground. There's nothing in these kits that you can't find online for free anyways. The only reason why you're grabbing these is to complete your collection. If you want documents like these, head over to the Vaults of Pandios, and they're going to give you tons of them for free. Okay, time to finish off the accessories. I'm not bothering with the DM screens, because that's be like a 2-minute video. The Red Dragon Inn isn't exactly an exciting read with just pages and pages of brief NPC descriptions. So let's talk about the almanacs instead, 1 through 3, and the poorly regarded Joshuans, which was the last Mystara product made. Then we can get back to the good stuff, with the Blackmore modules on the horizon. Till next time, remember, sometimes the only way to win is not to play.